Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Hello, Nigerians. Hello to all of you out there in the diaspora. Also, we say welcome to another edition of Money Radio. My name is Case Hammond. I'm your host, and I'm in the studio today with our regular in-house analyst. Her name is
Say Anthony Oko.
So you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
And hello to every one of you out there.
Yeah. We are discussing an important topic, a topic that is touching Nigerians today. It's poised to give us some good perspective of what is happening. We're talking about the increasing price of cooking gas. Cooking gas. We hardly see people use kerosene to cook nowadays. I haven't seen people use kerosene.
Wow, that means you live in the urban environment.
For a long time, I haven't perceived the smell of
kerosene. Yeah, but we've seen the number of people using gas increase in recent times.
Yeah.
But still, we still have a whole lot. The statistics we have is that 60% of Nigerians use firewood.
We will come to that firewood as
all right,
issue.
Okay.
It's difficult to use electric cooker to cook because we know the situation of power.
Of course.
We talked about kerosene. I have not seen very people use kerosene lately. And then the use of firewood is something that is being discouraged by climate change.
Of course.
People who are pushing for climate change. And that is not, of course, it's not
pushing
healthy.
For cleaner energy.
Yeah. Charcoal is also one form of
cooking energy.
Yeah, that is it poses a threat to the forest. Yes. Sure. So cooking gas, which Nigeria has in abundance, is the way to go. But the thing is going beyond the reach of the ordinary man. So the price of gas has gone up. Within just about 2 months, it has gone from around 4,000 plus to almost 7,000 now in some places. I'm speaking about Abuja. I saw somebody buy 12 kilograms of gas, just 12.5 kg of gas, just the other day at the cost of 6,750 naira, and he had to beg to pay that amount. Other places it's even more. What is happening?
Yes, that is here in Abuja. Using our wide network of coverage in leadership newspaper, all our correspondents went around all the states of the Federation to find out the average cost of cooking gas, especially the 12.5 kg cylinder of cooking gas. And reports that came back across the country, we got reports from 26 states as well as Abuja. The average cost of 1 kg of cooking gas right now is in the neighborhood of 500 and beyond. And that translates to the lowest that you can get the 12.5 kg cylinder being 6,500. And we had other states that had to pay as much as 8,000, 8,500 and close to 9,000 for the 12.5 kg cooking gas. And just a few months back, that was not the case.
Yeah.
So it's a real worrisome situation. I remember personally in just barely 3 months back, I bought the 12.5 kg at less than 4,000.
Yeah.
Less than 4,000, 3,800 and something thereabout. And since then, it's been a gradual increase. Each time you go back to,
I will fault you there when you say it's a gradual increase. The thing is a steep increase.
Okay, because all right, depending on your usage. But what I'm trying to say is that each time you go back to refill it, you find out that the price has gone up. And right as we speak, the last that I got it was 6,500. And others, even within this Abuja, they've gotten it higher than that. And it's a very worrisome situation for us, particularly in Nigeria at this time. More so being that the federal government has declared the decade of gas,
Yes.
in which the federal government wants to see the use of gas as a means of cooking ramped up from the current level of less than 10% to 90% in the next 10 years.
And that makes a good market. Like we said earlier, gas is abundant in Nigeria.
Sure.
Gas is a fairly clean source of energy, and is something that is and it's so abundant. We see in the oil industry, well, Nigeria is obviously blessed with oil, but we still import oil, and it seems a similar thing is um, playing out.
Yes,
With gas. What's really going on?
that is exactly the same challenge we are facing now. Now the LPG marketers, the liquefied petroleum gas, that's the cooking gas, the Association of the Marketers, they blamed the recent the rise in the price of cooking gas that we are experiencing now to a couple of factors. The first on it being the current devaluation of the naira. The value of the naira has gone so low compared to um, the dollar. And funny enough, Nigeria imports 60% of to meet local consumption of gas in the country, despite the fact that we have 206 trillion cubic feet of gas reserves. Nigeria still imports 60% to meet local consumption.
What is going on?
And with the current the value of the dollar, naira to the dollar being so high, it has impacted on the value of gas that is being imported in. And besides that, they also complain that the federal government has reintroduced the value added tax
On gas.
on gas. The federal government in 2019 gazetted the removal of VAT, payment of VAT on gas. And that was seen as a good move, because it actually began to, the price was, when you compared it to the use of other sources of cooking energy, you found out that gas was relatively cheaper, besides being cleaner and more effective to use. So a lot of people actually started moving away from the use of charcoal, the use of firewood, or even kerosene to gas, and the consumption started ramping up. But right now, despite that, the federal government is pushing for more use, for more Nigerians to embrace the use of gas. It has also gone ahead to remove to reintroduce VAT onto or to imported gas, and that has hiked the price.
It's like the federal government is working against itself, because on the one hand, the federal government wants to encourage more Nigerians to use gas as a form of energy. In fact, we have this auto gas policy that the federal government was pushing at the time. I don't know what is happening in that area, but to go back again and impose a higher tax on the importation of
yes,
gas,
I think
it's like counterproductive.
It is counterproductive. But don't forget the fact that the federal government have been faced with some cash crunch. So if even if in its bid to raise up to get more money, raise its revenue generation profile and all that, it is not to impose policies that will bring down the things that is trying to, the
Yes.
gains is trying to make in other areas. So I think that is an aspect that the federal government would need to revisit. Or what?
I was reading a piece of information just the other day, and I realized that the NLNG, for example, which mines gas in the
Yes.
country, um, uses or exports about 48% of the gas produced, sells about 40% to local consumers, and then the rest is fled. Yes,
Yes.
but if the NLNG, which government has a stake in, yeah, government has a stake in the NLNG, why would the federal government be exporting gas when there is need for it in the country?
You're getting it wrong there. What the NLNG exports, it's not the cooking gas, it's not the finished product.
Okay.
It's basically like what we have with the crude.
Also,
Where
crude gas.
yes, so
All
if
right.
we can put it that way,
Mhm.
is exporting the raw gas
Yeah.
out, and then it's being refined just like the petrol and then sent back to us.
So we don't have
So
refining capacity in
we
Nigeria.
don't have the refining capacity here in Nigeria, and right now what is being refined is about 350 metric tons of gas within the 350,000 metric tons of gas within the country, and that is not enough to meet local consumption.
So that means we're talking about investment here.
Of course.
So what is causing that investments? Are people holding back? Foreign investors holding back, or local investors don't have the capacity to invest? What's going on?
I think
Because it's clear there's market here.
there, of course, there's market. We have the people. We have the market in abundance. And when we talk of the issue of funding, I guess let's just say the lack of a good regulation. Let me put it that way, has been one of the hindering factors. So let's say that with the passage of the PIB into law,
Mhm.
would have the environment to be made more attractive for investors to come in. That's on the international level and otherwise. But on the local level, the local players have been complaining of lack of funds. But recently, the Central Bank of Nigeria also introduced an intervention,
Okay.
a 250 billion naira gas intervention, which is we will go a long way in boosting local production
Mhm.
of gas. So the modalities for it have been laid out for local producers to take advantage of and be able to ramp up
When we talk about
production.
250 billion naira, 250 billion naira is less than $1 billion. Yes, maybe about 750, 600, $750 million. Is that enough? An intervention, is that enough to build capacity to do in local production?
I'm not holding forth for any of the regulatory agencies, but of course you would say that that's not enough. But it covers some aspect of the value chain, the production value chain, and then other aspects will have to be solved. But the major thing here is that Nigeria needs to ramp up local production of gas. Whatever policies the federal government needs to put in place, is it has to put it in place to ensure that we don't continue to when we have so much, we don't Nigerians don't continue to pay so much and suffer so much deprivation of things that we have
Underground.
abundant
Yes.
resources for. That is the crux of this. The federal government rolled out the gas decade, in which it wants to see the statistics changing. Right now, we have 60% of Nigerian homes using firewood, 30% using kerosene, 5% using charcoal. So that means that basically, even despite you saying that you've not seen so many people using kerosene, it means that it is mainly in the urban settings that we have more people using gas. When you go to the rural areas,
Yes.
what we still have is people depending much more on firewood and of course charcoal to a lesser extent. And you know the damage that is having on the environment, on our forestry. We're talking about deforestation, people cutting down trees to use as firewood and all that, and then the pollution caused by the use of all other alternatives which are not cleaner, clean as gas and all that. And these are gains that the federal government has already begun to, it has created enough awareness,
Yeah.
and is gradually getting people to change.
Only at this time to start discouraging
people with policies.
So
So
serious. Let's take a breather. When we come back, we will just discuss a little about the way forward, and then we'll move on to some other issue that we have in national economy today. That is fiscal policy. Listeners, please stay with us as we come. Take a short break. Welcome back, viewers. We're still talking about the increasing cost of gas on the Nigerian market And still with me in the studio, Nsa is here. Nsa, what is the way forward? How can the federal government assuage this issue of high cost? Because look, we're talking about food inflation already on the
already.
table. Dealing with that to add to another cost of eating is serious. That is serious pain on ordinary Nigerians. The federal government has to step in. What must the federal government do at least to assuage this pain?
I think the first thing it has to do is to go reverse, take away that value added tax from um, importation of gas. That will, first of all, the value of the naira, it's a gradual thing. The central bank is working on it, and we are hoping that with some right fiscal policies there may be a change. But the the imposition of VAT now increased that burden on the
Yes.
price. So if the federal government saw fit to take it off in 2019, I think even though it has introduced VAT and increased it even from 5% to 7.5%.
Mm-hmm.
So if it can go back to exempting this essential commodity
Yes.
from that value added tax, yeah, we would see some level of decline, because already the marketers are complaining. Is that they are selling it at the prices they are getting, based on the prices they are getting it from the depot.
Yes.
So relatively, they won't be able to sell lower, except there are other policies generally that makes the price that they get it at come down. And they have even expressed fears that if nothing is done, it could get to 10,000 for the 12.5 kg before the year is over. And that's a very gloomy,
We hope
it's
something
a
is
very
done
gloomy
because
picture they are painting, especially with every other cost that the
yes,
average Nigerian has to contend with at a time like this. So that would be a good place to start in showing that they want to bring down the cost, and then going out of their way to encourage Nigerians and other investors to take an interest, bringing out incentives that will make investors to take an interest in producing gas locally. I believe that if we do that, we have the raw material in
yeah,
abundance. There's no way, and the market is readily available. So any investor who goes into it would have
it's a return on his
yes, of
investment.
course,
Yeah.
sure.
We hope it doesn't get to that point where um, we'll be talking about the cost of
The
gas at
danger is
12.
the danger there is that you will find a whole lot of Nigerians going back to firewood
Firewood or
or
kerosene.
kerosene. Even kerosene is expensive.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking of firewood and charcoal
We
as
don't.
Nigerians try to make eating cheaper for
Yeah.
themselves.
We don't want to get to that point
Uh,
where eating will become a problem. That is where it hits everybody.
everybody.
Yeah, yeah. So um, let's move on to a different issue right now. We're talking about fiscal policy. On page 13 of National Economy Today, there's an imperative there that article is making to um, improve on fiscal policy. We'll talk about fiscal policy because we're talking about revenue generation as it relates to GDP. Over the past decade, in fact, I say decade, but it's long more than a decade, the federal government has been borrowing um, to meet up with the budget. And many people are expressing fears now that borrowing more is going to highly indebt the country, whereas we may get to that point where a huge, in fact, right now is like for the month of May 2021, where the federal government said that 90 something percent was of revenue generation was plowed to servicing debt. That is scary. Um, Many people try to assuage that fear by saying, look, the debt to GDP is very low. We're not talking, compared to other countries, debt to GDP is very low. While that is true on paper, if you look at the revenue generation capacity of Nigeria, that is very low. And what is it that services debt? Is revenue generation. And somebody recently said if you calculate revenue generation against GDP, we have about 325%, which is far higher than what many countries that are around maybe 100% revenue. I mean, revenue to GDP. So that is scary, and a growing number of economists are discouraging the issue of borrowing because they say it's not sustainable, especially when you borrow from the local market, because those ones don't forgive debt, and they charge based on interest rates. Since inflation is a factor, a major factor when it comes to interest rates. As the local, the foreign investors, or maybe the World Bank, the IMF, Paris Club, London Club, they may forgive you, but these local guys, they won't forgive you.
They will get the money because it's actually people's money. The monies that people have put with them.
Yes.
So you know, the issue of debt. Why a lot of people are clamoring that Nigeria should reduce its borrowing is the main reason is because Nigeria is not borrowing to fund developmental projects.
That is the problem.
Nigeria is borrowing to fund
payment of
salaries, expenditure, running overhead costs. So it means Nigeria is borrowing hugely to pay, leaving huge debt for generations yet unborn, but is not using it to maybe like build roads, build infrastructures that will benefit, that will generate more income for that to repay those debts.
Yeah.
Rather, is borrowing to pay salaries, borrowing to run government.
Borrowing for consumption.
Borrowing for consumption. So that is where a lot of people argue that while the government may say that Nigeria is the debt ratio to GDP and other indicators are not too bad for a country the size of Nigeria. It is the purpose for which the loans are being utilized that is the major area of concern for many. So I think that is an area where they would have to find other ways of generating revenues rather than borrowing. And I think we've been on this issue of diversifying our economy for too long.
You don't hear it until the price of crude oil drops on the then you hear let's diversify.
Yes, let's diversify.
As soon as the price of oil goes up,
begins to come up, everybody forgets about it. It's we go back to status quo. So when would we the managers of economy begin to be serious about diversifying this economy so that revenues does not only come majorly from sales of crude oil? We have myriads of natural resources that are not the potentials are not being utilized.
Yeah.
things are being done, but not in the manner that we can see significant revenues coming from them. I think Nigeria really, really needs to go back to the drawing board and take a critical look at changing how it earns its revenue, moving it away from only oil and expanding the base.
Recently, people are making effort, but everything goes back to government because recently, national economy carried a story that said more than 75% of food or agricultural products for export were rejected by European and American countries. So, if that amount is being rejected, that means policies are not being implemented. Those people who are supposed to be there to monitor quality,
The quality.
yes, they are not doing their job. And because of that, those agricultural products that should have been at least some revenue, foreign exchange earner,
Exchange and
they are being rejected. And when they are rejected because they are perishable, they go to they spoil. That means, look, there needs to be a complete overhaul of the system to get things running right. Otherwise, we'll just continue to talk, and talking is no commodity. We need to take action. So,
of course, like you say, action is, let's begin to walk the talk.
yeah.
Let Nigeria actually begin to walk the talk. Nigeria knows how to talk. Nigeria has good policies, good strategies, that they've documented. It's high time Nigeria begins to bring out these strategies and begin to implement them so that we'll see the results.
Yeah.
That's just where the issue lies right now.
Yeah, that's much we can take today. It's been the Money Radio and Insa. Thanks for always being here.
Thank you.
As our in-house analyst. She has done justice to that topic today on the rising price of gas and, of course, fiscal policy, GDP review, and all of that. So, our listeners, we say thank you also for being with us. Our producers, we say thanks. I am Case Hammond. I remain your host on the Money Radio, especially this segment, Energy. Please stay with us. Come next week. We'll be here with another bumper edition. Thanks. God bless you.